Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a GPU mining update. We do have some good news. IronFish is now tradable, right? So it did get listed on KuCoin and other exchanges. So we got profitability numbers and it's looking pretty good, right? So we're going to talk about that. And also going to talk about that Kaspa ASIC, which looks like it is real. So I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on that and if it changes my plans going forward, right? Especially with mining Kaspa, right? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned, all right? So let's get to it. Let's get to the big news, and that's that IronFish is listed on a major exchange. It is now on KuCoin. Got listed about 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's been hovering between $8 and $9. It's currently a little bit under. It's at like $7.90 right now, but it has been in that range, which is pretty good, right? Honestly thought it was going to tank quite a bit more, but it's been holding up pretty well. I did mine about 3.5 iron. I did sell it with the anticipation of trying to buy back lower. So I honestly thought it was going to be down to like 5.5, maybe $6 by now, but surprisingly it's been holding up somewhat okay. Time will tell on that front. It is on CoinGecko now also, so you can check it out there if you don't have a KuCoin account or if you're not trading it, just keep an eye on it. One pretty impressive thing to note is the trading volume. It's at $3.5 million already, right? It's only been up for like 7-8 hours, so pretty impressive stuff there. So pretty cool, right? Something we've been waiting for. So the daily emissions is not on miningpoolstats.stream yet, but we can calculate it real quick. Did a little digging on FlexPool's Reddit. They did do a pretty in-depth post about like what they thought the initial price was going to be. So in there though, we do have the total daily issuance, right? So we can see here it's highlighted. It's 28,800. So just by getting that and multiplying it by the current price, we can see what the total daily emissions are. Brings us to about 230,000, right? Which is pretty freaking good. So we plug that in over here. That would be number 6 now. So it would be right under Chia at 286. So it would be sitting at number 6, which is not bad at all. Very good, right? Pretty good. Or actually, Chia's at 261,000. Excuse me. So it'd be right under there. Anyway, it still would be number 6 though. One other thing to take note of is that it is on hashrate.no now, and as you can see, it is the most profitable thing to mine, period, right? You got to factor in, though, how long this is going to last, though, right? The two big factors that are going to determine profitability are not good right now, right? Number one, the price of the coin is going down, and the hash rate, after people see this, is going to go up, right? So profitability is probably going to change pretty good pretty soon, just depending on how many people jump over, right? So overall, though, it's a good thing, right? Whether or not you give a crap about IronFish, it is going to spread out even more hash, right? Making other coins more profitable because the difficulty will go down on certain coins, right? So overall, definitely good. Having more options is always welcome. And overall, it's a good thing, right? But again, time will tell on where this price goes and where the hash rate goes, right? So if it stays kind of where it's at, then definitely more people will be hopping on. And again, it's just overall better. So you have to think of your strategy, right? If you're just mining it just for the speculative aspect and we're just going to dump it, then got to think about it. Think about it if it's time to dump now, or you're going to hold off a little bit, right? Or just depending on your strategy, like my strategy is I'm going to hold it, right? I did sell some just initially, just with the anticipation of it dumping more and just buying back. But overall, the long-term strategy for me is going to be to mine it and hold it, right? So now let's look at this freaking guy. So looks like it is real. If you're subscribed to me, you better be subscribed to Red Panda. I'm sure you saw his video confirming its existence, and he's getting that yield, confirming it even further. So it's real, it's here, it's live, it's mine, right? But a lot of things to factor in, okay? This can still 100% definitely be a scam. There are some shenanigans going on in the background. Whether or not any of that pans out, we shall see. But keep in mind, guys, Just because the few units that are out in the wild are real does not mean that they're going to mass produce and sell these, okay? They can still freaking ghost you guys and stay with your money, right? That's one thing to factor in. The other thing to factor in is that this thing isn't supposed to ship until you'll probably receive it sometime in July, right? Meaning that most likely the play for them is going to be, you know, the few that are out in the wild. This is tinfoil hat stuff. This is purely speculative. My thought, right? The few that are in the wild are going to remain out in the wild. They're going to remain accumulating big time, okay? So even if this thing is real, even if they do plan to distribute it, they're going to manufacture them, they're going to box up, but I don't think they're going to distribute them all the way until they have a reason to, right? Meaning that, again, purely speculation, but do not be surprised to see a delay. They had manufacturing issues, they have shipping issues, if there's no other competition. If no other miner gets announced, if no other miner drops, if there's nothing going on, I 100% see them just continuing to mine on these few units while the difficulty is low and accruing the crazy amount of money that they're gaining, right? Currently, right now, they're going to be able to do it for another almost like, 2 months, okay? So do not be surprised if nothing gets announced that it continues and they just delay these out, right? So even if they are real, it doesn't mean that they are for sure 100% going to ship on this date or ship even at all, right? Again, this is a small company. We've never really heard of them. We've never really dealt with them. And yeah, we don't know. A lot of red flags still. We don't know what's going on. Is it completely surprising? No, right? If they tomorrow shipped 1,000 of them, then yes. Okay, but overall, like I mentioned in the other video, we're already expecting to have one sometime this summer, right? At the latest. I would be surprised if we don't hear an announcement or a possible release from like Gold Shell, IB-Link, one of these bigger guys, before the fall, right? Could be even as soon as, like, also do not be surprised if you see one drop right after these guys, right? And if that does happen, then these guys will ship out whatever they got and try to sell whatever the heck they have, right? So a lot of tinfoil hat stuff, a lot of weird stuff going on. But to me, it kind of doesn't make sense that they would do that. It makes more sense for however many units they have, because I'm sure, you know, RPM got one, but I'm sure people paid probably even more than that just to have access to one now to be able to mine on it for 2 months and like freaking make that crazy, crazy revenue, right? So again, if no other miner comes out, do not be surprised if these things get delayed, right? Just throwing it out there. Who knows? Maybe they drop early. I don't know. A lot of red flags there, but does this mean that this is the end of GPU mining for Kaspa? Not yet. Right? Like I said, these things aren't going to probably drop in full force until July. And even when that does happen, I don't see more than maybe 500 units coming out. Right? So it is going to be a hit. To me, what's going to be the bigger hit is when one of these other manufacturers also release one. This is the other big thing to factor in, is that if IB-Link or Gold Shell do release one, it's probably going to be significantly even better than this thing. Okay? Chances are this thing is on older crappy chips because nobody heard of it. Right? Meaning it's most likely on older hardware. Okay? So keep in mind that if Gold Shell IB-Link run, don't be surprised to see like a freaking 10 terahash model or something. Right? And blow this thing out of the water and come in at like 15,000. Okay? So just keep that in mind, that is an extreme amount of risk. Right? Very similar, I'm sure all you Cadena guys know. Right? Do not be surprised to see something significantly better released not too long after this. Okay? The play would be as if you were able to pay the $29,000 and pick this thing up tomorrow, then 100% worth it, right? Like Panda right now is going to be making freaking bank. But just some stuff to think about. And also, doesn't mean it's the end of GPU mining Kaspa. Again, not yet. As these other ASICs come out, probably by the end of the year, it probably will be though, right? Realistically, again, I do see other units coming out probably by the end of the year. Then it's probably not going to be still going to be doable, but it's probably not going to make sense to do that, right? So has that changed my game plan at all? Not really, right? I did, as you guys know, if you've been following, I did order this M2 FPGA as well as an Osprey with that intention of mining Kaspa, right? But like I also mentioned in there, my prediction was that by this summer we were going to have an ASIC, right? So the game plan here was to get in early, get it ASAP, mine as much as I can through Kaspa, and hopefully the play with these doesn't mean that these things are obsolete. The play from the get-go with these was the anticipation that more bit streams will become available, okay? That was kind of the roll of the dice with this one. Whether or not it pans out, we shall see. But in my opinion, it only makes sense for these guys to invest into a dev to create a bit stream for them for something like RXD, Alephium, or even IronFish, which is also on Blake 3, right? Or Nexa, RX, you know what I'm saying? Ergo, any of these. There's so many right now, and this is why it's kind of different right now than it was in the past. Where, you know, an FPGA for like when ETH last year with those C1100s, it was kind of only that one option. Right now, there's so many that are going to go that route around the same timeline that these are coming out. To me, it 100% makes sense for these guys to do that because they'll be able to increase the sales. They'll be able to mass produce this thing and continue to sell them, right? So again, that's the play for me. Does that mean like, oh, these things are garbage? To me, it's worth the risk, at least right now, if you get in early, if you get them now. Again, hopefully the play is that we do see bit streams for RXD, or that somebody releases them, maybe Team Red Miner, maybe there's a way to throw that on there. Time will tell on those fronts, but for me, that's the play, right? We'll see how it pans out. Hopefully it works out, and if it doesn't, it's worth the risk, right? We'll see how things go there. Now let's talk about GPU mining as a whole and things to look for, right? So now that we have the addition of this new coin, again, even if you have no interest in it, what you want to keep your eye on are hash rates of the other networks, okay? Specifically, I know a lot of people have been eyeing like Flux, Ergo, and Alephium and such, but like, oh, okay, why everybody's mining over here? I'm mining this, and yes, that strategy will work, but you still have to look at your profitability numbers because in many cases, it still doesn't even make sense to do that. Even though, yes, the yield is higher now than it was, in many cases, it's still not even breaking even. It's still at a loss. You're still kind of better off currently mining these more profitable coins, selling them for the coins you do want, right? So I get people's, either like, oh, everybody's over here, I'm going to be mining over here. But it doesn't make sense to be mining here, like with Flux or Ergo, for example, if it's still more profitable to be mining RXD and just selling and buying this, right? So these are things you do got to think about. Like I get people's viewpoint on that, but you still got to make it make sense, right? And then one more caveat to that, though, is what is appealing is for those of you guys with a large amount of GPUs is to solo mine on those. Right, so as the hash rate goes down, if you do have a significant amount of hash rate, it may make sense, even though it's not profitable pool mining, it might make sense to try your luck, try it for a week, see how many blocks you can hit solo mining. Then at that point, even though profitability doesn't look good, it may be worthwhile, again, for those of you who have a large amount of rigs. Okay, I'm down to one like 12 card rig, and now I got this 4090. So for me, that's definitely not going to be working. I definitely got to pull mine because I do not have much hash rate, so I'll be going that route. But that's one thing to think about. The other caveat with, mining what's most profitable and then selling into whatever coin you want, you have to make sure that that coin is going to remain profitable, right? So like for me, personally, not financial advice, but I would feel comfortable mining either Radiant, Nexa, or Alephium, right? And then converting into, your Flux or your Ergos or whatever, if those are what you're into, because those have been profitable. Those have remained profitable for like the past 4 or 5 months, right? So I feel confident that by the time I go to swap, my Radiant for Ergo, that is still going to be worthwhile, okay? Because if it's not profitable by the time you do that, it doesn't make sense to do that. Like for example, last week, there was a couple of days where like Paprika coin was #1 all over the place. It's not #1 anymore, okay? So if we were to go swap right now, chances are you'd be worse off. Okay, same with that other coin. There's a coin called Chlor. A few weeks before that, that was #1 all over the place. Okay, it's no longer #1. It's no longer even in the top anything. Okay, so just keep those things in mind, is that if that is going to be your strategy, you have to mine something that you feel comfortable is going to remain profitable during those times. Okay, if you're going to do it every day, then you're fine, but chances are you're going to be lazy and forget about it and probably do it like a week later, or a couple of weeks later, or maybe at the end of the month, right? Or maybe you do follow prices and you do it when it makes the most sense to do it to get the most yield, right? So these are all things you got to factor in depending on your strategy, right? Like for me personally, I'm stacking certain coins as long as they're profitable. That's what I'm doing, right? So like my game plan, the FPGAs when they come in, they're going to be dedicated to Kaspa. That's pretty much all they're going to be doing until it's no longer profitable. Then hopefully another bit stream is available, and then if it is, whatever amount that makes, they're going to be selling it and just dumping into Kaspa. Okay, like for me personally, you do your own thing, but that's my play. Those are my two picks for the next bull market. It's just Iron and Kaspa. Okay, I do think that, not financial advice, not trying to shill them on you or anything, just my viewpoint is that they do have the potential to break the top 50. Okay, Kaspa has already way exceeded my expectations. IronFish is looking pretty good also. I'm curious to see what the market cap comes in once those numbers come out in a few days, right? But both of those do have good money-making potential. Is IronFish the most decentralized, coolest mining? No, it's not. But does it have the pumponomics to make money in the bull market? Yes, and that's the reason I'm into that one, right? So just a couple things to think about. Let's see what else. The other big thing to take into consideration, if you're still kind of like iffy on what to mine, look at potentials, right? So I know we kind of have it in our head, at least I do, as far as seeing like Nexa and Radiant, that they're like micro caps and that they're still gonna, 20x, 30x if they do well. They're pretty good sized market caps now, right? If we look at Nexa, it's currently at 508, was like 400 something not too long ago, just because it's been having this correction. And then Radiant is number 667, right? So they are still small caps, but they're not like what they were, let's say 4 months ago, right? And a lot of us, I know I still had it in my head that, oh yeah, they still have huge potential, but they still do. Not saying that they don't. It's just not the type of potential that they had back in like October, for example. If any of you guys watch any of those videos when I did buy some at that point, and those have been great returns, right? So those are things you got to factor in if you're, just mining with that pure anticipation that, oh, I think it'll do okay and it'll go this amount, right? You have to, that's one thing you got to take into consideration. The example I will give that has proven itself, and it's still smallish, right? It's also not too small, is a lithium, right? So this is one that I do have my eye on, that if IronFish wasn't profitable, this is probably what I would be mining with the GPUs, just because the market cap is small. So this is a pretty cool website to make your like moon boy predictions, right? It's thecoinperspective.com, and all it's doing is just comparing market cap. So you can put in one coin and another coin where you think it could end up at and see what the valuation would be, right? So in this case, comparing a lithium with Nervos. The reason I picked Nervos is because it's within the top 200. It's like number 180 something, 190 something. So it's up there, it's doing well, but it's not necessarily like, a top 100 coin, right? At least not now. Could be in the future, but this is just current time, right? So if a lithium were to ever get into that same range, it would be an 11x, right? Which is not bad from where it's currently at. For those of you guys who have been mining it, it's already done a nice return. This has potential to do another nice return, right? And let's say it continues to do well and it reaches the market cap of Raven, right? Raven is one that kind of doesn't do much. It's just kind of there. The community holds it together. So realistically, any of these GPU mineable coins, if they do well, whichever ones do succeed, I do see them possibly getting into this range. So let's say a lithium were to hit Raven Coin's market cap, be a 27x, right? So just keep that number in mind. Now let's compare it with, so we'll put CKB back over here because that's the top 200. Let's compare it with like Nexa, for example. Okay, if Nexa were to hit CKB's market cap, meaning if it would crack the top 200, the upside isn't looking as good, right? 196%, still pretty good, right? But it's not that 11x potential that like a lithium had, right? And it's because this market cap has already grown a good amount. Okay, not to say that it can't go beyond this, it definitely can, right? If you're bullish on it and you think it could go beyond it, definitely can. But it's just one of the things I factor in when I'm thinking about what to mine, right? So just something to factor in. You got to look at those market caps. And that also doesn't mean like, oh, let me pick the one with the smallest market cap. Let me pick like Clore or something that has like is tiny. I think it's like, let me see. I looked it up. The market cap is 629,000, right? So that would be a huge gain, but who knows if it makes it up to that point. Like I wouldn't have much confidence in this thing even cracking the top 1,000. Can it? Sure. Will it? I wouldn't feel too good about it, right? Does that mean I wouldn't be into it? I'm into it, right? Because even if just the GPU mining community keeps up with it, it could do well, right? But does that mean I'm going to dedicate a month to mining it? No. Will I buy some? Yes. Have I? Yes. Will I continue? Probably, just like, 20, 40 bucks at a time. That's not something that I would dump crazy money into, right? Because if it has the potential to go to zero, right? But also has the potential to do even if it's not successful, even if it barely cracks the top 1,000, it's a good like 10, 11x from here, right? So just, little moon boy things to think about, potential prospects and what your mine game should be when you're deciding on what to mine. And come up with a strategy, guys. I'm a huge advocate for that. Again, I know it feels like it's forever, but we're only a year away from the halving now. Okay, at this point, if you haven't already, come up with a plan. Okay, start thinking of what coins you want to really get into, because I know if you're like me, as of last year, I was spread so, or like last bull market also, I was spread so thin in so many coins. I did well, right? But if I would have just picked my winners that I felt good about and gone more into those instead of being spread in so thin in so many, I would have done much better, right? And that's one of my goals for this year, is to consolidate. My deadline was this summer. By this summer, pretty much, at least for my smaller cap coins, at least for my mining coins, right? Because I do have a little bit of a lot of these. But by this summer, I'm pretty much already set, though. Like, it's pretty much, for me at least, it's Kaspa and Iron. We'll see if any others come out. But start thinking about those things, right? Start thinking about, which coins you want to go heavier into, set accumulation goals, so that way look at price charts. That way, once you have it consolidated, it's easier to keep up with like price points, right? It's a lot easier to track like 1, 2, 3 coins instead of trying to track every GPU mineable coin, right? Once you have it down, that way you can, like I'm not a trader, but I do like to swing trade on sentiment, right? That's a huge thing. Like if there's a listing coming out or something bullish coming out, I follow those types of things, and then I've been successful in it, right? That's just something I do. Wouldn't recommend it, only because I have my coins narrowed down and I follow those projects closely, okay? So there's a lot of factors. I know GPU mining is changing. There are a lot of things going on. It's going to be a crazy year, especially with all this AI stuff, proof of use for work coming out towards the end of the year. A ton of stuff. Am I super bullish on GPU mining? Not really, actually, right? Reason being, I've talked about it in other videos, mainly because of the fact that majority of the coins that are currently profitable right now are not going to be GPU mineable by the time the bull run happens. Most likely, not guaranteed, but I'm pretty sure even probably by the end of this year, a lot of them will probably be on FPGAs, and ASICs will probably follow sometime by next year. Like, I would not be surprised at all by next summer, right? That like Radiant, Nexa, Alephium, IronFish, all of these will probably, at least if they don't have ASICs yet, they'll have ASICs planned by next summer. Leaving us with what? Flux, Ergo, any of the ProgPal coins, and yeah, not a whole lot, right? So all the hash that's been mining on all these guys, what's going to happen? They're going to flood on those, right? So we're going to need a lot of price appreciation to happen, or possibly other coins to pop up to really feel confident in it. So does that mean I'm going to sell all my cards and give up? No, I'm not going to do that either, right? But I am going to be following it. I'm looking at trends. I'm looking at like proof of useful work is going to be a different avenue. And efficiency, to me, that's definitely going to be a thing, because I don't think we're going to have the type of crazy yields like we've had before. I think the ones who are going to make out well are the ones who have, especially for proof of useful work. Okay, you guys with like RX 580s and stuff probably ain't going to be working too well for that. Okay, you're going to want newer cards. Like, that's why anything I'm buying, most likely will be 4,000 series cards, but not at these prices, right? Most likely it'll be like next year if prices go down, or depending if I find good deals. Like the only reason I even got this 4090 was because I got a pretty good deal for it, right? So I will keep my eyes on, you know, if 4070 Ti's, 4070s, if I find good deals. I'm not going to pay MSRP for them, and we'll see. Time will tell on that front. But we'll see, man. Right now it looks good, right? It's just time will tell on whether or not, you know, how soon these ASICs come out, whether more FPGAs come out, which it seems like people are starting to see the window, and it's never been this easy to get FPGAs, right? And I think it's because a lot of these manufacturers know that they will have bit streams available for these other coins, because there's so many other profitable coins that are going that route. So I think it's going to be very different this cycle, okay? On top of that, and proof of useful work, and these other zero knowledge proofs, Aleo needing these server cases, it's a lot of stuff. I think this is a very exciting year, though, even though I'm not bullish on like that end, at least as far as the traditional coins, right? But I am very intrigued by all the zero knowledge proof stuff, proof of useful work stuff. There's just so much going on. That's why it's hard for me to be like super confident in, yes, like this is the coin that's gonna be profitable. I'm gonna buy this card because this is the one that works best for that, right? And that's the other thing to factor in. Everybody's like, oh, 4,000 series because it's, you know, the most profitable. It's the most profitable on all the coins that are no longer gonna be GPU mineable, because they're all core intensive, right? Compared to the stats with like Ergo and Flux and such. Okay, where it is different though, they are more efficient, but the yield isn't there, right? So that's why it's really hard for me to say, oh yes, like I'm definitely going all in. Like, I don't know, unless I find super cheap deals, right? If I find like, you know, $150 3070s, then I'll jump in, right? Until we see significant differences, I don't know, man. I know I'm going to keep what I have. I've been debating on selling and like upgrading, but I think I've decided I'm just going to add if I find cheap stuff, but I'm not going to get rid of anything just to mine pretty much IronFish, essentially, right? Because again, those FPGAs are going to be dedicated to Kaspa. These will be dedicated to IronFish for who knows how long, right? Maybe in 2 months it's no longer profitable, and then at that point I may consider selling them, right? That's why every quarter I kind of reevaluate, see what's going on. But I do feel confident in proof of useful work doing something. Will it work with these 3000 series cards? Probably not. This 4090 will probably do well on there, but time will tell. Again, a lot of stuff. I know, kind of rambled on a little bit at the end, but a lot of exciting stuff coming. Keep you guys updated. Guys, if you like the video, please consider subscribing. Let me know. Let me know what you guys are doing in the comments. If you guys are into IronFish, I know a lot of you guys aren't. Been talking about it forever, but now it seems like everybody's talking about it though. But back when I had mentioned it like 4 or 5 months ago, everybody's like, what the heck is that? But pretty cool to see it come to fruition. But again, guys, let me know what you're mining, what you're doing, what you're thinking. Thank you for watching, guys, and I am out.